Hello and welcome to Through Lucy's Lens, videos where I go somewhere interesting and hopefully you will find them interesting too. My name's Lucy, I'm a social historian and I just love showing you interesting historical places, focusing mostly on the history of people with working backgrounds, the masses. So welcome. I'm at one of my favourite places in the world today, the Black Country Museum, because they've opened a brand new exhibit and it's been a while in coming and I've been really exciting. It opened yesterday on World Book Day, but I've popped in this afternoon so we can get a first look. And it's a library, a place that lots of us will have been and experienced, and it's set in the 1960s. So today is all about the joy of books, and right at the end of the video there's some bonus footage of the last time I was here at the Black Country Museum when I shot some footage for a kind of Christmas video, but it didn't go out on time. But I was looking at my footage and you know what, it's still lovely, so I'm just going to pop it there at the end as a bit of a bonus. But first of all, enjoy the library, then a little bit of bonus footage. Come on, let's go. There's something quietly extraordinary about this building, because not so long ago a place like this could change the course of someone's life simply by giving them access to a book. And the most remarkable thing is, it didn't cost a penny, unless you returned your book late, of course. Today I'm visiting Woodside Library, newly opened here at the Black Country Living Museum. But this building's story begins elsewhere. This is the original Woodside Library from Dudley, and it used to stand on the Stourbridge Road. It was first opened in 1894 during a time when public libraries were becoming one of the most important civic developments in Britain. It was a gift to the people of the area from the Earl of Dudley, part of a wider movement that recognised something really powerful: that access to books and learning should not be limited by wealth. The building stood in the Woodside area of Dudley for over a century, serving its local community through enormous changes in everyday life before eventually closing in 2008. What you see here today has been carefully dismantled and rebuilt at the museum, preserving not just the structure itself, but the story of how it was used. And here at the museum, it's been set to represent the year 1963. A moment when libraries had become something much more than quiet reading rooms. It was a community hub, and even community dances were held upstairs in this building. Walking inside, you immediately get a sense of what made places like this so important. Shelves lined with books freely available. Tables where people could sit and read or even keep warm. A space that was warm, quiet and open to anyone who walked through the door. And that idea, open to anyone, is really at the heart of the story. Because before public libraries, books were not easy to come by. For many working families, they were expensive and often out of reach. But that didn't mean the desire to read or to learn to read wasn't there. In fact, demand for reading material grew rapidly throughout the 19th century, with the increase of free education for all. Not just books, but newspapers, pamphlets, novels, anything that offered information, entertainment, or simply a glimpse into the wider world became popular. One Victorian report described libraries as offering rational recreation and self-improvement amongst the industrious classes. By the time we reach the 1960s, the moment that this library represents, that idea had become firmly established. Libraries like this were busy, well-used places, forming part of everyday routine. People came in to borrow books, read newspapers, and spend time in a space that was often quieter and more comfortable than at home. Because of course homes, particularly for working families, could be crowded. So it wasn't just about the books, It was about space, light, and a bit of peace. And then there's the books themselves. People read because they enjoy it. Popular fiction, magazines, practical guides. These shelves would have reflected what people actually wanted to read. And that freedom to choose is important. Because for the first time, many people had access not just to a book, but to many books. I wonder, was there a book that maybe you took out from a public library that really made a difference in your life? As always, let me know in the comments. For me, it was The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole. I got my hands on that book probably a little bit too young, when I was about 7 or 8, and it just inspired me to read. So that's how important these places really are to millions of people.
Hello, folks. Okay. So I'll probably leave it there for somebody else to pick up and give them something that they can try tomorrow. No, I don't. Can we check with? Do we know who's in? You can't check, are you? Back to the returns, have you?
And then we come into the children's or junior library. Because by the early 1960s, there was a growing understanding that libraries could play a vital role not just in supporting readers, but in creating them. In 1962, a librarian here named Tom Tarry introduced something called the Dudley Library Circle. Children didn't just borrow books, they talked about them, listened to stories here, shared what they had read, and if they could show they understood their books, they were awarded with a badge. Within just a few months, hundreds of children had joined, and the scheme gained national attention. And I think what's so lovely about that is how human it is. It wasn't about enforcing reading, it was about encouraging it as a pastime to enjoy, making it something enjoyable, something social, and something to feel proud of. And you can really imagine it here. Children coming in after school, choosing a book, sitting down and becoming absorbed in a story, just like I used to. As a teenager, I would often finish school and head to the local library, where I would indulge in as much reading as I wanted until it closed. And for many others, this would have also been where a lifelong love of reading began. And standing here today, it's hard not to reflect on just how important places like this were. Not because of grand events, but because of small, everyday moments. Someone learning to read, someone discovering a book that they loved and that would stick with them for their whole lives. Someone simply finding a warm, quiet place to sit. Libraries like Woodside were built on a simple idea that knowledge should be available to everyone, that learning shouldn't depend on wealth, and that something as small as access to a book could make a real difference. Because sometimes the most important changes in history don't come from big events, but from places like this, where ordinary people were given the chance to read, to learn, and imagine something more. I think this is an incredible addition to the museum. Not only will it spark memories for so many people, but with the current trend of local authorities closing libraries here in the UK, it reminds us just how important they are. I urge you to visit for yourself and soak in the atmosphere, handle the books, and just take a moment's peace.
There's the adventure books. Right, circus around books. Ladies used to love those books. Yes, yes. The value of a book. Yes, yes. I absolutely.
And then so, like this one has the little branches are having a bit lazy.
I'm now taking you back to a previous visit to the Black Country Museum. I understand if you want to leave the video here, as you may have tuned in to see the library. But I visited the museum in November 2025 and took some beautiful images in some of my favourite houses here, and I've just never had the chance to use the footage. It's something a little bit different. I'm not going to talk. I just want you to enjoy the footage. We live in a crazy world right now, so this is a little gift from me to help you relax, enjoy the interiors, and take yourself away for a short while. But before I stop talking, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. It really helps me continue to do what I love: to explore, curate, and share the most interesting places for social history lovers to visit, in person or, of course, virtually with me. I'm just going to let this footage run to the end now with some written information. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll see you on the next video. As always, thank you for your support. I'll chat with you in the comments and see you next week. Goodbye.
Oh, and this is their kitchen. Oh, very pretty. Very nice. I like the table and the stove with them.
I've got a telly in there though. But remember, this is 1959, so there's only 2 channels.
Diane pulled on it, and I was
Private package really tight, you know. How big they were? Huge. I know, but they were really nice though, because they were all full of E numbers. And E numbers is kind of all of it. Kids go crazy. Exactly, but in 59 it was all of them. It was all of them that had E numbers in the 50s. So the kids were bouncing off all the.
My brothers tried to speak to someone. Literally, they can't stand still. They're just like.
He was going to be pacing, I'm saying. Oh, I love spinning in circles, it's my favourite thing to do. Yeah, you don't grow out of it. Even adults are weird. Adults like to do this.
My great granddad still likes newspapers and doesn't like the TV.
The TV is a bit bad. There's nothing on. Newspapers are better. You want to see a real newspaper?
Mine, and also born.
Oh, I was born in Ambersborn. That was all the news. See how small the writing is?
Oh, the pretty.
Everyone had really good eyes back then. No glasses.
And the Welsh National Food Exhibition
Well,
should their
it's like
appreciation by giving away 90 magnificent food recipes. She liked it, she liked it.
But people kind of like helps build like buildings like NHS and stuff like that. And like for armies.
Yeah.
I remember going to that corner shop on the way to school and buying some lard because we're making bread at school.
In the fridge is
And
still
there was a present there to you. It's John or Joe and
with the train on it.
no, it is John.
Constantly waiting.
They message each other from upstairs. You know when you're in the same household, you might, the kids stay upstairs and they say,
You're like holidays.
Yeah. It has, and it's the way they do it.
Yeah, how everybody
How it
lives.
was.
Yeah, but it's not, is it?
No,
It's
it's
lovely.
gorgeous.
They were
Yeah.
happy,
Oh yeah,
weren't they?
they were.
Probably the woman would scrub those floors every day.
Every day, scrub the floors every day, did
Yeah.
chores as well.
Yeah.
Did chores, so did all that.
Oh, lovely to speak to
It's
you.
lovely to speak to you
But
as
I know
well.
you've got past, so we'll be back
Oh,
again.
we'll keep an eye out for you. It's been lovely to chat to you as well. Have a lovely rest of your day. And hope you have a Merry Christmas as well. You take care. See you later. Bye bye. That's going houses. So that you're in 1914 here.
With the
World
kids.
War II.
14 or 40?
1940. 1940, yeah.
12 more.
1914 was World War I, 1940 is World War II.
1939,
That's when it
that's
started,
when Germany
yeah.
first invaded
Yeah,
Poland.
it was. It
And then
was.
we ignored them for so long until it got so bad they had to get involved. That's why a lot of the Jewish people didn't like
This is the problem.
us, because they didn't help when they needed. But the
He did.
big mistake he made was
He
starting on Russia.
Yeah, it started on Russia, but he didn't like the Jews, did he?
No.
He despised the Jews, and this is why he made them, starve and what have you, and it's horrendous.
It's all
You can
right.
never hear a thing. Everyone goes, it's always very quiet when you go. Oh, you'd be amazed. It isn't really. It's just I edit it.